Hi, welcome to Money Confidence. I'm Crystal Ockley, the Chief Financial Strategist here at Confidence Wealth, and every week I try to bring a topic to you that I believe seems to be, the topic on mind, and hopefully this will help you also as you are asking questions when it comes to investments, and in this case, average returns. So a lot of time I hear people say, well, Crystal, if the portfolio is averaging 6% for me and I'm taking 4% out, I should be okay as long as it doesn't average over 4%, which is my withdrawal rate. Would that then work out and I can still take 4% as long as my portfolio is consistently earning an average of 5%? So what do you think the answer is going to be? It could be either way. Here's what's interesting. Average return, it's not really what you think it is. It's example, I can tell you there are two portfolios averaging 10% the last 2 years, and one can actually have a positive consequence and one can have a negative consequence. So really what matters is that cumulative return, and for you to truly understand what average return means, that way you don't base everything and all your plans around average return. So let's go ahead and take a look at an example. I'm going to share my screen with you. Give me one sec. Okay, so let's look at this hypothetical question. So let's look at on this side. Let's say you were in the market, in this example, the S&P 500, and again, we're going to look at a hypothetical investment just for us to get an idea of what this means. And if we had $1 million here and it averaged 5.6 right here, by the end of 15 years, as we were withdrawing 4% out plus inflation, we ended up having $295,000 left. So even though it averaged 5.67, we took out 4% plus the 4% inflation, we had only $295 left. Now let's look at another hypothetical portfolio side by side. Almost identical average return. Now let's take a look at that. We had $1 million, taking that same 4% out plus inflation, we ended up at 1.1. So same average return, right? Same withdrawal distribution, but the results were completely two different things. So you have to remember, average return is not necessarily the same thing. How is average return calculated? So looking at this example, basically all they're doing is they're taking all the positives and the negatives and they are dividing it up by the amount of years. So that 15 years. So that's all it means. Positives, negatives, divided by the amount of years. So that's why you got to keep volatility in mind. Two portfolios averaging the same return, it doesn't mean it's the same thing. It depends on the volatility factor, how it all ended up, right? What was the sequence of return? What happened during those beginning years? What happened in the later years? What happened? The portfolio dropped significantly and had to recover as you were taking money out. So don't be fooled by just thinking average return is simple as that, because a lot of times people think that. So it's really important to understand that what is the volatility of my portfolio? What am I cumulatively earning? And where's my drawback? How far set back do I go if there is a bad market? Because no one can predict the average return, right? When you look at that, it can go this way, it can go this way. What if it goes this way? What if negatives are later and positives are at the beginning? You can see the result was completely two different things. That same million, same 5.67 average return ended up at 973 versus 295 because the sequence of returns were a little bit different. And the side-by-side portfolio, the 5.6 versus the 5.67 versus the 5.66, the result was also totally different. Let me show you another one just for you to understand from now on average return. You're going to look at it a little differently than the typical way everybody does. It's going to make you a savvy investor. So hold on one second and let's take a look at this example. So now let's take a look at this other example. What if this portfolio was averaging what we were looking at, 5.67. You had $1 million. Again, you were taking 40,000 out plus inflation. You had 295. This other portfolio averaged 4.82, but the result was different. Taking that $1 million, taking 40,000 out, we ended up with 800,000. Same withdrawal rate. However, the average return was totally different. This was actually lower. But this one did not have volatility factor in it. So during the down years, it stayed flat. So really, what's really important for you to consider is it's no longer average return will result the same, or just because one is lower doesn't mean it's not going to be higher than the other, depending on the circumstances, depending on the sequence of return, depending on volatility. So what do you have to ask yourself? You have to ask yourself, what am I truly meaning when I say average return? So just don't look at it and say, oh, I thought people say if I average 6 and 7%, that's really great. No, really, at the end of the day, it's all about what are you cumulatively getting in results and what is coming back. What is your volatility measurement, right? During out the horrible years, good years, whether bad year starts at the beginning or good year starts at the beginning. So it really is about running different scenarios, Monte Carlo simulations, to really understanding that average return doesn't necessarily mean as simple as an average return. And what truly matters is how volatile is the portfolio, how far back does it go down for it to reset to where it needs to, and at the end of the day, how much of what you make you get to keep. Because really that's what it's about. So truly, it's no longer just looking at these simple things, because I've seen too many people choose their 401k based on an average return of an index, not truly understanding what that means because they're not measuring the volatility. So I wanted you to be a savvy investor and think average return is not always equal the same. Two portfolios averaging the same could result differently. What really truly matters is volatility measures, cumulatively earning, and how to get you from point A to point B to give you the result that you need. Hopefully this was helpful to you and it cleared the fog on what truly average return really means. Until next week, have a great one.